In today's video, I'm going to reflect the importance of using the principles of design thinking in project management. As I work as a project manager in one of the largest state government departments in Australia, where we work on multi-million-dollar projects, some of the largest educational projects in Australia, one of the truths that I have realized is that projects aren't only all about plannings and budgets and Gantt chart. A project has to be valuable and something that users can actually use and be benefited from. And that's where the design thinking comes in. So it is absolutely important for a project manager to see every project and program of work from the lens of design thinking. Design thinking is a human-centered, creative approach to problem solving that starts with empathy, really understanding the needs, emotions, and pain points of the people you're designing for. It's about solving the right problem, not just building the right solution. Design thinking has 5 different stages, which are empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. Before explaining each of these stages of design thinking, it's really important to understand that why design thinking principles are really important for project managers. Now, design thinking isn't only about a theory for project managers, rather it's a practical implication, a practical tool that will give the project managers the fundamental underpinning of how to see a problem from the scratch and then trying to solve that problem rather than jumping straight to a conclusion and build a solution. So there are some very clear benefits that design thinking offers which will help our project managers to understand the problem well and provide an actual solution to the problem. So design thinking helps a manager to reduce rework and wasted effort by getting the early feedback from the intervention group or various stakeholders. It also puts users at the center, which increases the chance of the project will have the real-world impact. Design thinking also encourages collaboration, cutting across silos between business, tech, and operations teams. And this is very evident for large projects in very complex organizations. And most importantly, design thinking helps the project manager to be very adaptive in the fast-changing world. Whether you're managing digital transformation, building new service, or improving policy outcomes, design thinking will help you to unlock innovation and stay grounded in what truly matters, the people you're designing for. Just a reminder, if you're new to this channel, feel free to subscribe to this channel and leave a comment as well. In this channel, I talk about research, education, and also my experience of being a project manager from one of the largest state government departments in Australia. So I use some of my practical experiences in this channel as well. And I talk a lot about current professional aspects in Australia, migration and everything. So feel free to subscribe to this channel and stay with me in this journey. So in this part, let's just focus on the 5 different stages of design thinking so that we can understand each of these stages well and then think how, as a project manager, we'll be able to use these in our day-to-day affairs while we manage large and complex projects. The very first stage of design thinking is called empathize. So everything in design thinking starts with empathy. And this is not just being nice, but it is deeply understanding the actual pain points of the users. This means observing, interviewing, and connecting with people to learn about their pain points, fears, and motivations. You're not solving the problem yet, you are listening, watching, and asking what's really going on here. Let me give you a very nice example to understand empathize in design thinking. What you can see in this image, at first, at a glance, may look like a nice ride in a theme park, with nice colors and cartoon characters. It's actually an MRI machine developed by General Electric, and this is specifically designed for kids. Engineers from GE noticed that children were terrified of MRI scans, so much so that some needed sedation. But instead of just improving the machine technically, a designer named Doug Dietz spent time with children and their parents. He discovered that it wasn't the machine's noise or complexity, it was the environment that scared them. And this discovery led them to create the Adventure Series MRI machines. These MRI machines designed like pirate ships or space journeys, turning fears into fun. So the key takeaway here, empathy can understand your users well, not just data. So do not just simply rely on data, but rather also use the lens of empathy to understand your users well. The second step in the design thinking process is called define. So define is that stage where you have to narrow down your findings. So in the first stage, once you do empathize with your users and gather those insights, those raw emotions and all of those problems, then you have to sort of declutter all of those findings, thematize them, synthesize what you have learned, and frame the real problem. It's really important in this stage to narrow down the broad observations into some focused problem statement. So if you use the same example of the MRI machine developed by General Electric, once General Electric empathized with kids in the first stage, they redefined their goal. It wasn't make a better MRI scanner, it was create a less scary scanning experience for children. This reframe opened the door to creative, child-friendly innovations. For project managers, define stage really helps to reduce waste and not exploit your resources into solutions which are not remotely related with the problem. So as a project manager, you have to understand what the actual problem is and then narrow down the problem into a manageable problem statement and then just focus on that problem. The next stage in design thinking is called ideate. And this stage is really exciting. This is the stage where you're going to have those light bulb moments, the blue sky thinking. In this stage, teams brainstorm potential solutions no matter how wild or impractical they seem. The goal is to spark creativity, suspend judgment, and let ideas flow. Let me give you another very known example from the world. Let's talk about Airbnb. The Airbnb we know today is a massively successful brand today. But when they started at the beginning, they weren't that successful. In fact, their story at the beginning was full of struggle. At the beginning, no one actually used Airbnb product that much. When Airbnb was struggling, they realized users weren't booking listings because the photos were bad. Instead of focusing on tech fixes, the team brainstormed low-cost ideas and came up with a strange one. What if they visited the hosts and took high-quality photos themselves? That idea, born out of brainstorming, doubled their revenue in 1 week. So ideation gives permission to think differently. And that's where often the breakthrough solutions are born. The next step in design thinking is called prototyping. Ideas are great, but the fact is you have to make them real. And that's what the prototyping stage is. You have to create low-cost, low-fidelity solutions that the users will first use to understand that, well, is this really solving our problem? So the objective of this stage is to test early. And prototypes can be anything, a sketch, a clickable mock-up, a physical model, or even a storyboard. Let me give you another very interesting example to exemplify the importance of prototyping. Let me tell you the backstory of the launch of Google Glass. Before launching Google Glass, the team built clunky, weird prototypes that looked nothing like final product, but they wore them in real-life settings to observe reactions, discomfort, and confusion, insights that really helped them to refine the design. So this early feedback from the prototype actually helped them to later improve their product and create the best version. So from prototyping, once you get the initial feedback from the users, then you can then scale it up to a much better version. For project managers, prototyping brings alignment, reduces risks, and gives stakeholders something tangible to react to before it's too late to change. The final stage of design thinking is called testing. So as the name suggests, in the final stage, you have to test your product with the end users. And this stage isn't just a validation step, it's an opportunity to learn what's not working and improve it. Watch how users interact, ask what confused them, and be ready to go back and revise. One thing we have to keep in mind that the process of design thinking is not linear. The stages that we discuss, these are not linear stages. You might empathize, define, prototype, and then circle back to redefine the problem based on new insights. And even very established organizations like even Netflix, they also frequently use the principles of design thinking. Netflix frequently tests new layouts with real users and then iterates based on viewing behavior. They're always refining, not waiting for perfect. So as a project manager, I use the design thinking principle quite frequently, and I think it's a very beneficial tool to see the problem with empathy lens and understand the actual problem and then craft a solution and not just jump into solution quickly. So I hope those of you who are new to project management would definitely learn the principles of design thinking and also understand the various stages of design thinking, and you'll endeavor to use design thinking principles in your day-to-day work as well. While working in Australia as a project manager in one of the large state government departments, we have delivered lots of projects within the education space and health space as well. So before developing the solution of these projects, we actually use the design thinking principle lens, which really help us to understand our beneficiaries, the intervention groups well. And that's why we're able to offer them the best solution through the projects that we implemented. So I'm very keen to hear from you if you're a project manager or if you have other experience of using design thinking, whether in your business or whether in another setting. I'm very keen to hear as well. So feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. So in this channel, I talk about research, higher education, current professional landscape in Australia as well. So I'm very keen to get your thoughts and feedback in this channel as well, so that you can stay in this journey with me. So feel free to subscribe and stay in touch. Hopefully I'll see you again in other videos.